How on earth is it not just the same as when you turned it off last?
Because technology.
I mean, it is the case for me that it is the same as when I turned it off last. Or I guess today it was the same. So I guess I can't, I can't make declarative statements here.
Thank God computers need us, because it reminds me every day that we'll never see a Terminator. When I turn the thing on and it's like, what's a microphone? For the 305th time, we return to the land of podcasting, wherein our heroes leave without sheathed swords because that's their microphones and they don't connect to the computer. I don't know. I lost it halfway through. Hello, Michael and JJ.
Welcome back.
Hey, Andy.
I'm awake this time.
Unlike some other times recently.
You over the jet lag?
Yeah.
Who can say?
You could maybe. Who knows? Oh, JJ. Does that happen often? I gotta know as a F1 fan.
I mean, as far as I can tell, you're not actually a fan yet. You haven't actually seen a race. You've fallen asleep for one. To be fair, this one was in Australia, so it's not frequently in Australia.
It's there once a year maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there are some countries where it is twice. More of those are in like
3
Europe and the Middle East.
Yeah.
The U.S. has 2 this year. The third one is next year.
Next year. Yeah. So Michael, I got my iPad all set up with the ESPN2 streaming app. I got the TV ready to go. It connected via Chromecast. I sat down. The kids were put to bed. I got a little limoncello LaCroix soda water. I snapped it open and put it.
That's a good flavor.
It's so good. It was on sale.
I have a detour for our conversation, but continue.
Yeah. Crushed ice inside of my Star Wars double-walled Tervis tumbler, stainless steel. Chips, dip in the fridge, ready to go. I slept right through the entire thing.
Setup.
I slept right through. I fell asleep.
And then apparently woke up like sometime past midnight and texted me, man, sorry, I slept through it after the race had ended. And I was asleep at this
12:23 is when my wife arrived home from her concert that she had been at, which was the perfect evening to have had a concert so that our timing would align, wherein I finished watching the F1 race and she returned from her concert. Instead, I was awoken by an angry person who was locked out of the house. And would not be let in.
The doorbell because
Yep, exactly. So that's my Formula One experience so far.
I will tell you, it wasn't the most exciting race to miss, so it was fine.
I did rewatch about half of it and then watch the highlights. Man, I know we talked a lot about F1 last time, so don't panic, people. We're just doing a little catch up because we haven't talked about it really. They got to figure that motor out.
You say to every team on the grid.
That's a good point.
I mean, some of the drivers, I would say, should stop crashing all the time. That would help them probably be able to do better.
Yeah. There's one every year, huh? It seems like.
It certainly is. I would say this has been egregious, but it has really only been 3 races, so it's a small sample size. And the cars are much more different this year than they were, year to year in many previous years.
Last year it was Tsunoda. Before that, it was Grosjean. It just seems like one guy is always in the wall.
Yeah, I don't think Tsunoda crashed as much as that
Show made it look like.
sound like.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
but
right.
he definitely
Yeah.
didn't have a good rookie season. That's for sure.
I did follow up on your suggestion of listening to Shift F1. I like it so far. I'll probably give it a few more episodes. I have a question for you as an F1 person.
Okay.
Why not add 2 more teams?
Who are the 2 teams that are going to pay the money, man?
Okay. Well, now that
think
there's
they
a
would-
cap in spending, they're gonna maybe have more interest, right? I thought it might be interesting, and I didn't know if you knew the answer to this already. I know everybody qualifies. There's 10 teams, 2 drivers per team, all 20 cars qualify. What if they had 2 more teams and some cars just didn't qualify?
They would never do that because you have to spend so much money to get a Formula One car up to spec that it would be like their sponsors no one would ever sponsor that team if there's a chance they just wouldn't show up.
I see. Okay. All right.
And there is a cap on the total number of cars they can have, but it's like 30 or something. It's way higher than the amount they have currently. And in previous years, there, like, in the distant past, there used to be more teams as well. And
I did notice many of the tracks had longer grids than were used.
yes. And actually, I think Formula 2 and like some of the lower division racing series, racing series,
Yeah.
have a lot more cars.
Yeah.
And in those are more spec car kind of things. So not everyone is developing different cars all the time. And as a consequence, it's like much cheaper to get a Formula 2 team together.
Sure,
right?
you could buy a used
Sure.
bobsled and go to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I have so many Formula 1 questions. Okay, let's do them real
I'm
quick.
here.
F1 TV, worth it? Not worth it?
I don't pay for it.
It seems like
I
it
can't-
has behind the
answer that
scenes
question.
stuff. And so like my behind the scenes stuff questions is, I don't know, Michael, were you somewhat intrigued by our conversation last time about Drive to Survive?
Yeah. I found
That-
it interesting.
The drivers to me seem completely inaccessible without that behind the scenes stuff. And I think F1 TV offers stuff like that, but I didn't know.
So I would say there is a decent amount of interviews and things like that with the drivers that are available just on the internet. And so if you want that, you can get it. F1 has a YouTube channel that posts a lot of stuff. You don't get tons of behind the scenes stuff, but you do get some. And also there are other shows that ESPN posts digitally. There's a guy who does like a racing notebook for every day of the Grand Prix. And it's like, more behind the scenes and they also post interviews and stuff like that with the drivers.
Okay.
There's definitely more of that on F1 TV for sure. But like I said, I don't subscribe to it because I feel I can get enough of the interviews and the newsy type stuff, which is enough for me.
Do you think everyone will be pulling in Alex Albon now and not pitting until the last lap?
I think that was a unique place and time situation. I would not expect that to continue.
Michael, he ran the whole race on the same set of tires and finished 10th.
Okay.
There's a rule that you have to change your tires at least once during the race. So on the final lap, as he was going to cross the finish line, he pulls into the pits. They change the tires. He drives across the finish line in the pits.
Yep. You can cross the finish line in the pit. That is legal.
And to be also fully clear, there's pictures from his car. There were already like spectators and people gathering for the end ceremony stuff in the pit lane as he is coming down it on the last lap.
Oh, no.
And like there are people like running, like trying to move them out of the way, being like, "What are you people doing? There's a car
coming. He's still
like,
racing."
Yeah, and it's not like he was going. Yeah, the pit speed is drastically lower.
No,
than
but it
racing
is
speed.
really important.
It's still fast.
Well,
Yeah.
but for his race, it was very important that everyone was out of the way because he had to get out of the pit to get 10th instead of 11th.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is the first point Williams has scored this season. It might be the only one they score this season based on how they're doing.
Oof.
You know what? Just do more interesting stuff like that, right? Like that's the strategy from now on. Do interesting stuff.
Yeah, it proved that the tire compound could last the whole race.
So now the big question: are we going to play Fantasy Formula One?
I am already playing Fantasy Formula One.
Let's talk after the podcast because I'm interested.
You can join anytime. It's like a week-to-week thing. So yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not like a league, huh?
They have leagues, but you can still just join anytime. There's like nothing stopping you. The way the points accrue, like they rank them per race and then also by the season. So you can win on the Shift F1 podcast reads out the high rankers in their and on a week by week basis. So if you happen to rank really high that week, your name would show up there.
Got to send me those hot links. All right, hot links. Yum. Since we're talking about food, I found this thing from a person. What? Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to hear about this.
I think it's coming down to this, you guys, and we've got to vote on our rule soon. I think we need to set a final date for that. But it's coming down to this. Form is everything, I think. And I'm starting to think more things than I thought are food crimes. Like this picture that we have in front of us. This is called a nacho.
Like singular?
No, it says nachos in the description, I believe.
Now, the audio listener would be forgiven for picturing in their mind a bed of chips over which some amount of various things are put on top. That's not what this looks like.
Honestly, for the astute Mexican food eater that would maybe be listening to us, it looks most like a tostada.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I would say this is almost a
triple wide. Yeah,
I would call this like almost a taco salad.
Yeah,
with no sides on your bowl.
Size wise, the size of two human hands, lengthwise and tall. I think. I don't know. Good Lord. I don't understand. Yeah, we're going to link it somewhere. But, like, it's everything you would ever think to put on nachos, first of all, plus other stuff. It looks like there's mango on there.
Yeah,
I can see cheese.
I've been trying to figure out what all is on it.
I can see cheese, red onion, radishes.
Yeah, radishes maybe?
Green salsa.
Or
avocado,
maybe.
Yeah, it looks like guacamole somewhere. Maybe there's peppers of some kind. I can't really see. There's white onion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see meat, but I assume there's meat in there. Maybe there's not. I can't tell.
Could be buried under there, or it might not be. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's a mound of food, and it's all layered. Unlike I guess a nacho, a plate of nachos is usually somewhat layered.
The important thing to the description of this, is there a bed of chips on the bottom? I think maybe yes.
So once I watched him eat this, there are chips buried underneath inside the taco.
Okay. What's the point of the taco shell here?
Bowl?
Why'd they even do that?
I don't know. Even so, it's not nachos, right? Like,
you'd have a much better argument that it's nachos if the taco shell wasn't there. Because then it's just like overloaded, like you put too much stuff on nachos.
I'm trying to see if I can find this online so I can find a better picture of it. Roxy's Red Hot Cantina. Yeah, there we go. It's in the NZ, you know what I mean? They don't have any good pictures on this thing.
No, but there's a description on their website menu.
Why don't you read the description to us?
All right. Corn chips covered in chili con carne, birria beef, chili con queso, melted Colby Jack, pico de gallo, pink onion, coriander, avocado crema, salsa roja, chipotle mayo, and jalapenos. It makes no mention of the way that it is served.
Right.
Yeah.
So reading that, I would think
this, yeah,
of nachos.
Right. What the hey? They don't. They suspiciously have no photos of it on their online profiles.
Yeah, I think the thing I see here, right? Like that description sounds like we're putting way too much stuff on a giant bed of nachos. Fine. Places do that all the time. It's kind of weird, but go for it. It's not illegal to call that nachos. It's just putting too much food on top of your nachos. Go with God, I guess. But what they have served here does not. This looks like a taco-sized trough.
It's literally a trough.
I sent you guys a picture of it from a different perspective.
Okay. Because I found a
that
picture
shows just how
Oh, you got
wide
the Instagram photo. There you go.
God, that's so big.
I mean, size is not sharing size, right? Like nachos are for sharing.
Yes, and you would have to share it.
But to eat this in any sense of getting to the actual chips that they've put in it, you're going to have to demolish the sides.
Well, and I think to that end, that JJ's description of it being more like a taco salad is apt. Yeah. Because you have to eat your way down, right?
Yep.
I think
that's exactly why I thought that, because again, it's like you would have to eat about half a meal's worth of distance to get to the chips at the bottom, right?
Yeah, and that's
like, unless you just break it open immediately and smear it all over the plate, at which case, why do they do this?
Yes.
This is one of the things I really focus on when I make nachos myself is to put a ton on there. Sure, it's nachos. You should make a mess, but at the same time, it should be a mound that is manageable and in a flat-ish assembly.
I mean, ideally,
I don't even see the cheese.
Yeah, like, right. That's like a problem. And like, nachos, I think of as a food I can eat with my hands, and like I can grab chips and like scoop up stuff with the chip. You can never do that with this. You need a fork. You need like 6 forks.
I think this is at minimum a misdemeanor for misnaming.
Just like, why didn't they mention that they serve it in a giant taco fried thing?
Why don't you mention that you have to eat it with a fork? Like you've
is this common in New Zealand? Is that the issue here? I don't know.
Look, man, they translate things there. You know what I mean? This is Mexican food translated via New Zealand.
I was gonna say I would cut them some slack for that, having experienced what passes for Mexican food in at least one foreign country.
Okay,
it's close-ish, you know. The margaritas are served in a way too small of a glass. The tacos are. I gotta imagine that tortilla is not very good. Looking at the tortillas that they serve, but. You know, you got to reserve judgment. The flavor is the flavor. You can't tell from the picture. The problem with this is it's not nachos because you cannot physically make a way to eat this with your hands.
Yep. And I think that's my biggest complaint.
Judgment.
You know?
Judgment. Crime, but light because they tried. I don't know if anybody else stands by that judgment.
I like the categorization of misdemeanor.
Misnomer.
Yeah.
Misnomer.
It's not like they did this and like called this a burrito or something. You know, they're in the realm of what could be a nacho, and the nacho ingredients are here. It's just they've done something crazy to them.
Yeah. Speaking of New Zealand. Is New Zealand? I think they are. It's not a triangle. Shoot. It's a circle. I was thinking they were in the Ring of Fire, but I thought it was the Triangle of Fire. It sounds cooler.
I think they're outside of it.
I'm pretty sure they're part of the Ring of Fire. They have volcanoes.
Yeah, they got to be part of the Ring of Fire. But we can all agree they're not part of the Bermuda Triangle.
They're not part of the Bermuda Triangle because that would be 2 oceans incorrect.
Yes.
Well, one ocean and a gulf incorrect.
Several bodies of water away.
Look, I was going to say the Triangle of Fire because it sounded good, but it's incorrect is my point. Let's move on from my idiocy and talk about triangle strategy instead, because ring, triangle. That's where my brain went. That's as far as we're going.
Take it away, JJ.
All right. So I played some Triangle Strategy this past week. I'd been casting about after finishing Elden Ring, trying to figure out what I wanted to play next.
Is it out or is it a demo?
It is out. All the way out. There are several patches for it. So you can, if you get it, you can download those and they change. I don't know what Nintendo doesn't give you any fixed crashes and bugs in certain occasions is like the patch notes. It's like, okay, thanks. I don't know what that means. Cool.
Yeah, you didn't want to know.
Yeah. I'm only, I think I'm only 5 chapters in, so not too far, kind of just starting to get going here. But this is a tactics game in the veins of your Tactics Ogre and your Final Fantasy Tactics, that kind of a game.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so it's like a kind. Okay, I thought it was more RPG than tactics. That's cool. I'm into that.
There's a set cast of characters. None of this is like stuff you can't create any characters, or at least I haven't seen that yet. And there's a story. You can move the cursor around the map to look at things going on in various places in the world. And then you have your they call them like an exploration phase where you get to walk around a town or a setting or whatever, and visit the townsfolk and go to shops and do that kind of stuff. And then you'll have a battle. And that sort of seems to be the cadence of stuff. And then after the battle, there'll be some story stuff and show you a bunch of cutscenes, after which point then you're back to the map and so on and so forth like that. Right.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is pretty cool. I will say I'm playing on normal. I did not increase it to hard. There's an easier difficulty than normal. And I hadn't felt the need to check that out yet. Unlike Fire Emblem, and so this game is also very much in conversation with games like Fire Emblem. Right?
Okay.
It has the HD 2D look, like Octopath Traveler.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a very, I think it's a really cool look, and the camera is movable in battle, like with the in the exploration scenes too. With the joystick on your Pro Controller or Joy-Cons or whatever, you can pan the camera around the scene, so like turn your square-ish battlefield or area that you're in and just sort of move the camera all the time, which is new. I'm used to the Final Fantasy Tactics way where you have 3 or 4 90-degree angles you can look at, and that's it.
Spins to the next place that it will lock.
Right. And it does not do that here. You have full control. You want to look at it from some weird high, and it also angle. So you can
tilt as well as spin. Yes.
So it's not just rotating on one axis. You have a degree above the horizon you can alter as well.
Cool.
Which you can play with that, and it's just I'm just looking at a wall. I have no idea what this is. Not a helpful, not exactly the most helpful way. And then spin it around to get something better. But I will say it has been relatively difficult. On normal, the battles are not easy, and if you don't if you don't use some strategy,
some triangle strategy.
Yeah, although there's less you might be tempted to think again like Fire Emblem that there's a weapon triangle, right, where rock paper scissors between these 3 things.
Yeah, that's why I would assume they call it triangle strategy.
Yeah, that's not what it is though.
What?
The triangle refers to the 3 what do they call them? Convictions or something in the world.
Don't lose me.
Are these the warring kingdoms?
No, yes, there are 3 kingdoms. So that part is very much a triangle, and they are roughly laid out in a triangle-ish shape on the map. So that's probably mostly there. But then there's this in the cutscenes, there's this alignment system almost, I guess I would call it. And the alignments are, which again, these are going to sound really dumb. There's utility, morality, and liberty. 3 things all in direct opposition with each other.
What?
Yeah,
you're losing me, man.
Look, that's all stuff for cutscenes. It's like picking what you're going to do, right? It's like, oh, do I want to follow the unity route or the morality route? And it like influences which characters you can recruit or which actions you take, in response to a character telling you something, right?
Okay.
But in battle, it is the like each character gets a turn. You have the turn order down at the bottom of the screen. You get a move and an action, which can be taken in either order. So you can, act first and then move, which is really nice. Some of those games don't let you do that. And
usually it's the other. It's you always have to move first.
Yeah, and they're usually very good about letting you go back. Obviously, once you commit to the action, you can't, undo it. But they have like a lot of ways for you to like test what would happen if I hit here. Okay, go here. How much damage would I deal to this guy? Okay, what about this guy? Well, what about this one or this option or this option? And then you can back up and be like, all right, just kidding. I'm going to move over here. Now what? Right? Like, does this change? You get bonuses for attacking people from high ground or behind them, or casting fire on a unit that's weak to fire, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, standard tactics fare.
Yeah. And so that's been really cool. I've really, really enjoyed that. And between battles, you can level your guys up, spending materials and money. You can fight. They call them mock battles, which they're like training battles essentially. Which I have found, at least thus far, like kind of need to engage in some of these to keep up on the level curve. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe you're intended to deploy less units than I am. I'm deploying the max number of units I'm allowed every time. Or maybe you're supposed to focus your experience better or something. But I am quickly gaining more characters than I can use in battle. And if you want to be able to use them, like if you're 2 or 3 levels below the recommended level, your characters are going to be weak, and it's going to be a problem.
Okay.
I really wish people followed the all your characters get experience strategy. It just becomes work.
Yeah. And to be fair, like you don't want to have a party of like 3 mages either, right? So like when you recruit a second mage or a third mage, how much do you want that guy or girl really, right? It's just a question of, this mage has like cooler X, Y, or Z. Is that better than this one or whatever?
Is it permadeath?
So that's the other thing that's different. No.
Okay, then you don't need 5 mages.
Right. And so there is no penalty for any, at least as far as I've been able to tell, no penalty for any of your characters dying in battle. I've had my main character die in battle, and as long as I accomplished the conditions by the end of the battle, I was fine.
Okay.
So that's definitely a change, especially like from games like Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying it so far. Like I said, it's one of those where like I'll sit down and try to do like the battles can take quite a while also, especially when you have like 9 units and then they have 9 or more units and, the reinforcements are showing up or, archers over here. And then, oh God, I have to go like, I've made a horrible mistake. Like everything is wrong and I've walked into the trap. Let's like back it up here and start over. One other system that I found that is pretty cool is they have this, they call them Quietus, I think is the name of the thing. And they're essentially like out of turn actions you can take.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has a dumb name. It's a Japanese game, dude. I don't know. Like they come up with names for stuff.
It's funny. It's just funny. There's nothing wrong with it. It just
I do. So I'll talk about the Quietus stuff first, and then I'll tell you like how you earn them. And I think that the how you earn them part is pretty cool. The way it's like out of turn actions, right? And you earn them over time, and you essentially get to do stuff out of order. So one of the out of turn actions you can take is to move a unit's turn to be immediately after this one, right? So say like an enemy goes and they crit your person and they're like at 1 health, but their turn is like super far away. You can use one of these Quietus to bring their turn to right now, move them away, have them heal or whatever. But you have a limited number.
Undo button, but
but that's one of the things it can do, right? You can also use one of the actions to force a unit to get a critical hit.
Yeah.
Or there's several other things that you can do. They are all of that kind of power level though, like very useful. And you only get a certain number of these per battle, right? So you use your Quietus to get a critical hit to eliminate this unit. well, maybe now your other person is going to get killed and you're not going to be able to save them. The interesting thing, I think, is the way you earn the ability to buy, because you have to buy these, right? Like, you don't just get them for free all the time. I think you have one that's available to you all the time. And the other ones you purchase in like a store at your camp. And you purchase them with this currency called kudos, which again, dumb name. But it's really, you earn these kudos points for doing things in battle. So like every time you backstab someone, you get a kudo point for saying, oh, this character performed a backstab. You get a kudos point for attacking from a high ground on a lower ground character. Oh, you get a kudos point for, having a follow-up attack after another one, or sometimes multiple kudos points, right? If there's a backstab and
I'm glad that they decided we're going to name the game Triangle Strategy. Just pick every placeholder name we chose for every ability in the game and just stick with it.
But like you were essentially earning currency by doing generally good tactical things, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And play the game well.
And it's a cool system. It really is. It's the game going like, hey, you did a good thing. Good job, man. And then instead of just like rewarding you with experience, which you also get, right, from performing your actions or whatever. And, you'll get more if you kill the unit, obviously. But hey, when your healer heals someone, they get experience for that, but you don't really get much more. But if you heal them, in a certain way, maybe you get these extra kudos points. Mm-hmm. And, then you can take those back to the shop and essentially spend them on stuff. You can increase the number of uses of quietus that you get, the various kinds of quietus. And then there's you can buy lore and information like that. And the lore stuff is one, it's free essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to buy these quietus abilities, they're 50 each. Oof. That's quite a lot. You might get 20 or 30 in an entire long battle.
Wow.
So
cool.
It's pretty cool. And I'm really enjoying the the story is kind of your standard medieval political intrigue kind of stuff going on, which family and house is going to backstab who kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It's very cool so far. I'm going to keep going.
Very cool. I laughed about the names, but new tactics games with new ideas are always fun and exciting.
And plus, the next thing we're going to talk about has no ground to stand on in terms of names.
Well, no one says anything, so how could you?
Is that true?
Oh, you might think so.
Okay, well, I was going to go with a different transition, which was also, well, if you're going to try new ideas and new things, why not remake the same game, but do it new?
Why not do that?
So is this a remake? Because I've been wondering that question a lot as people post a lot of photos of things from the past of this game.
Yes,
but also
and
not. No. Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which in some ways retreads some of the ground that was told in earlier Star Wars games.
Star Wars,
I think
Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Yes, which I think was episodes 1 through 6.
Yeah.
It is a combination of two games, one of which was 1 through 3 and the other of which was 4 through 6.
Right. So this one is episodes 1 through 9, and I believe is the first time that they have done episodes 7 through 9 in a game. So that part is new.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
As far as Lego goes. Yeah.
Is the old stuff actually the same though?
No, it's not. So there are bits and pieces from what I understand that are the same, but they've recut things together so that it's not quite as big, but just so it flows a little bit better as, a giant 9-part thing.
And do the characters talk?
Yeah.
So this was something I read about the day before it came out, which was someone was reviewing it, Kotaku maybe, and saying that they when they first booted up the game, they realized that it was starting in voiceover instead of the classic Lego mumble mode. And the comment was that the voiceover work is actually so good that they turned it into mumble mode after playing for a little while and missed it and turned it back.
Huh.
So I've just been playing it in voiceover mode.
Voiceover from people who worked in Star Wars, or just like sound alikes or new voices entirely?
I think it's mostly sound alikes. I'm not sure for the newer stuff, but certainly for the older stuff.
And it's just cutscenes or like gameplay time? Did they add voicing for gameplay also?
Yes, yeah. So there's voicing for in the missions. You know, you're battling it out with stormtroopers, and Han is calling out stuff to Chewie, and Luke is talking to Ben.
Wow, that's
So they put a lot of voice work into it.
I think this is something that. So, Andrew, when was the last time you played one of these games?
2010.
So they've been doing
know.
voiceover in
Like
these
2014?
games for a bit.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
because they've been doing voiceover in these games for a bit, and I think this is just new to you.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
not new to everyone else,
I'm
right? So
sorry.
I am curious that it is no, but I was curious because again, like you said, these are like kind of remade or reused, kind of re-edited or something levels, and then none of that was before they did the voiceover stuff. So I wondered if they edited voices in to that stuff, and it sounds like they did.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So are you liking it?
Yes, on the whole, I think it's been really entertaining so far. In typical Lego fashion, there are a lot of sort of tongue-in-cheek nods to things in the Star Wars universe, and some out of the Star Wars universe, apparently. One that I heard about is that at some point when you're playing through episode 1, Qui-Gon makes reference to having a certain set of skills.
Wow. Deep.
That is it deep, yes.
Yes. So a shout out to Liam Neeson's other famous role.
I gotta know if the controls. Tell me about the controls. Did they feel like the classic, not maybe snappy-ish controls? Have they really spent the time to say this is next gen? What have they done in the control scheme for these games?
Yeah, the controls are pretty good. So I think one of the biggest things that they've changed is if you are a character that has, in this case, a blaster, it is now third person over the shoulder instead of first person. So your character stays on the screen, but you get you hold down the left trigger and you get your targeting reticule, and then you tap the right trigger to fire.
The last time I played one of these games, it was like top down ish, not even third person.
Yeah, no. So this is most of the camera angle is over the shoulder.
Wow. Way to go.
That's
Lego.
very cool.
Yeah, so it's really good. The blasters in some cases actually have recoil, which surprised me.
What?
I expected it to be you point the reticule and just fire until the enemy's gone, but no, you have to keep adjusting for recoil drift.
What?
Yeah.
It's like some Call of Duty stuff there.
They're making a game.
So when you first boot it up, you have your choice. You can either start with episode 1, episode 4, or episode 7. And the 2 successive episodes in each trilogy are locked behind completing the prior episode.
Huh.
So of course I made the correct choice.
You started with the original trilogy.
Yes, I did.
Is that correct?
Release order.
Okay.
But you can jump around. So if I got halfway through episode 4 and decided, you know what, I really want a pod race, I could jump into episode 1.
Yeah, but you couldn't jump to episode 3.
No, because that one is still locked. You can jump to any episode that you've opened.
That reminds me of the a Batman one that I played where you could jump to different villains areas, but you couldn't jump to the middle of their story or whatever.
Yes, yeah, it is very much like that. And also, like the Lego Batmans, they have incorporated the free play mode into all of the mission levels as well.
That's been a standard since the very first game.
Yep.
How much of a collect random bits and studs thing is this? I remember some of those old games being like, yo, you really need to collect 8 million studs on this level or whatever in order to unlock XYZ.
So that still does exist. There's a ton of stuff to collect. There are, in this game, it is Kyber bricks that you're after.
Kyber bricks.
Yeah,
my God.
Blue glowing 2x2 squares. And you use the Kyber bricks to unlock upgrades in the upgrade tree, in the skill tree. I have found so far that I have way more studs than I have things to spend them on, at least in the early going.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't feel limited. So I'll unlock a new character or a new ship and I can buy it right away because I have, all these studs that I'm sitting on. Now, you can spend them on things that I haven't been spending them on, right? So if there are a bunch of side missions and puzzles and umpteen million different characters and ships, and you can get most of them. You can figure out how to get most of them by talking to characters throughout the game. And though certain characters will give you rumors, which will unlock objectives in your task list. But you can also just pay to have that rumor whenever you want it.
Can I ask a silly question?
Sure.
Is this game even for kids anymore?
Yeah, it's still a Lego game at the end of the day. I think that a lot of its target market is probably a little bit older. But I think that there's still enough of that cartoonish fun that it would appeal to kids as well.
But in terms of the mechanics of finding and doing the things that kids would normally do, which is running around, are they still going to get as much out of it as they used to? Because I could tell those games were geared at kids only pretty much when they first came out.
Yeah, and I think there is still a lot of that. And I think honestly the biggest thing that kids would miss out on are the beats where they've pared the story down to streamline it. And if you know Star Wars, you just kind of fill in the gap yourself, right? Because you know the story, and so when they compress something or just sort of skip touch over different things, you know the details that were left out and can flesh it out on your own.
Sure. Okay.
So it's been good. I will say that there are definitely some things that I hope that they patch soon. And some of this might be just endemic to the game as a whole. Some of it might be because I'm playing it on Switch.
Wow. I thought you would have bought it on PC.
No, I bought it for my Switch.
I don't know why.
So
I don't know why. Huh.
Some of the load times are a little long, and I think the biggest pet peeve at the moment is that the tracking of completed objectives on the map when you open it up is hit or miss. So sometimes it'll show you the objectives that you've completed with a little red check mark on the map, and other times it'll just show all of them as if you haven't collected any of them.
That's not helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain too, because any objective that's on the map, you can highlight and make it your tracked objective. It'll do waypoint finding for you. But if you've already done it and it lets you still select it, then you could wind up, running across the map back to something that you've already grabbed.
Man, I feel like I'm super overwhelmed thinking about this Lego game. It sounds like a full-on, almost like a Tomb Raider-ish deal.
I think you might be overthinking it a little there, Andrew. I think it's still pretty Lego-y.
Okay, all right.
But it's also like, I think it is also fair to say that it is more of a game. I don't know. That's a bad.
Yeah, I think it
sounds bad.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't prepared for how much more of a game.
You can almost.
I was like,
you can.
Go
You
ahead.
could almost think of it as two games, right? So it is the play through the Lego stories missions part of it, and then on top of that, there is the Lego sandbox part of it.
Gotcha. Well, that I guess hasn't changed, and the sandbox is where it really is, what it's really all about. I mean, I have been mentally thinking about Legos more than not recently, having come back from the Lego house and seeing all sorts of things that they have some big Lego stores there. Just,
Yeah.
in those countries, and like I'm sure these Legos were known to people other than me, but like the I think I mentioned to you guys the Speed Champions series. It's just something that doesn't catch your eye unless you're out shopping specifically for that stuff. Becomes kind of like shelf filler in other stores. They buy one of them, but there's actually 20. Just like the ideas that you could be out there, I don't know, just sandboxing more than you are with lots of sets that they don't see. I don't know. I'm rambling now. So let's just say I hoped this week we'll have no rendering errors and the podcast will be on time.
Fingers crossed.
And gosh, emails.
Oh, do we have some?
No, but I don't know. JJ, do you think we'll get emails about F1 now that we're talking about it?
Not sure. Don't know. I mean, how are we influencing the audience to go check out F1? And
I don't know.
Then maybe, I don't know.
Last week, I thought we talked way too much about Drive to Survive, and then how many podcasts that we aggregately listened to were all talking about it after us?
At least 3.
I think at least 3. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe the big thing this week will be Lego Star Wars. Could be.
Time will tell.
Could be. I think I will probably end up playing it. I know my wife has been pretty keen to play. She likes the Lego games a ton.
Yeah.
And we've played a lot of them. She hasn't been so keen on the Marvel and DC ones, which have been what they've kind of been doing most recently. But she was way into when they did the Lord of the Rings ones and some of the ninja ones and stuff in the past. So
Sure.
We'll probably check this one out sooner or later here. Maybe I would like to try it co-op. I haven't played one of these co-op in years. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun, even just playing it solo.
I will probably play it on PC though. I'm gonna guess.
And I'll be curious to hear the difference.
I did see someone posted a picture of they figured out how to run the game in windowed mode and then stretched it across 2 monitors so each co-op person could have a screen to themselves,
Nice.
by making it double the resolution length but the same height.
Nice.
So I can try that. Don't know how it's going to work though, but I'm curious.
Well, if people have suggestions for how you can stretch your monitor like that, you will also need to get a second Pro controller like me. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I have controllers, so She has a little controller that she really likes. Very small for small-handed people, so she likes that one quite a bit.
Fair. Okay.
But for folks who want to send us messages about that, please send them to podcast@wewergamers.com or find us on YouTube. Search for We Were Gamers on there and subscribe and follow our stuff. Like it, comment, all that stuff is great. And follow this podcast in wherever fine podcasts are distributed.
Beautiful. I am enamored with these Speed Champions sets. I don't know what to do about it.
They do look good.
Well, I guess in 2020 they changed the scale of them from the tinier ones that they used to be into a larger scale so they could be more detailed. Because that means everything before 2020 is going to be too small going forward, and I could just whack it off the list.
Done.
And then you just like, oh, no, that looks good. And they're $20. They're $20.
I know. The price on those is crazy.
And they
My only concern with these would be like, how would you pick? You know, like, are you rooting for a team already? Did you decide? That seems tough.
That's the thing I'm starting to understand a little bit about Formula One as I've kind of been listening to other people. Like, I was listening to, what you should watch this. What is it called? I don't know. Tim Rogers was on another podcast talking about Formula One because he's really into it. You love to see it, and they were talking about Formula One, and everybody on there hates Max Verstappen, and I was like, oh, okay. And then everyone, I was talking to my brother-in-law about it and who he likes, and it's like, you know what? This is not a sport where you just dislike anybody, really. You just sort of watch and enjoy the spectacle, I think, more than anything. And then I think that is the thing as well with these sets, is like, well, you could easily say, well, don't go back before 2020 because they changed the scale, so they'll be wrong, before that. And then you just sort of pick what comes out, right? There's only one F1 since 2020, maybe two.
But I mean, the sponsors and stuff change every year, so you get a car and then it's going to be the wrong car.
I don't think you get it for that. You get it for the 50-year-old Le Mans race car, the 1970 Ferrari F512. That's what you do.
Hey, that's fair.
I think they're also making the 1960s GT40.
Ooh, a classic.
Yeah, in yellow and orange, or blue and orange.
Yeah, I was going to say Gulf Oil livery. That's the one you want.
Livery, yeah.
The orange and blue. I think from my perspective, I like Max Verstappen. I wouldn't say that I think he's the nicest guy. Probably seems like kind of a jerk, maybe. But I had been listening and watching for so long, and every year it was just like Hamilton wins every race, and like, I have nothing against Hamilton, but like, I wanted someone else to win. It's like, I just wanted to see the underdog do something, right?
Yeah.
And so last season, when it was like literally a title fight for the entire season, was amazing. And I don't think you're going to get that again. That's so rare in this sport. But I am just here for racing drama. And, it definitely delivers that every week, right? Like, you hear the whispers from the commentator. I heard that so-and-so said that someone had a leak in their thing and this was going to cause them issues, and we'll see what happens, and that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm landing. There's some people I like. I would feel good for if they win more than others, maybe, right? Like George Russell, I don't need to know the next golden boy as much as like if Kevin Magnussen got a top 5 finish, I'd feel real good about watching that race.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like everyone loves an underdog, right? Who doesn't love seeing the underdogs? And like Haas has been a terrible team for the last several years, and seeing them like get points and do well is just like, a feel good story for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, even Ferrari was terrible the last several years, and seeing them do well this year has been great.
Yep. Lamborghini Countach. What should we watch Formula E? Is that any good?
So I haven't watched it. It's the electric racing series. They're open wheel cars, but electric.
Yeah.
The issue is that they aren't on like easy to watch channels, firstly. And secondly, that it's a spec series. So
They're all the
unlike
same?
Formula One, they're all the same kind of car. Yeah.
Oh.
I think I wish I had watched in the very early seasons of Formula E, the battery technology wasn't so good. and so every team literally had 2 cars per driver, and the driver would jump out and change cars in the middle of the race. And I wish they had kept that so bad, because the idea is hilarious.
I mean,
It's like, okay, you need to have your driver like lubed up and ready to like, squirt out of the car and slam it back in.
just because just because the batteries were so short-lived.
Yeah, essentially they couldn't get a battery that could keep the car going at race pace for an entire
That's awesome.
That's
Grand
hilarious.
Prix, and that has since stopped because they have improved the technology and it's fine now. But the other sweet thing that I know about Formula E, and I learned this from Shift F1, the podcast, Formula E has literal like power-ups.
No.
Like, yes. If the drivers drive over certain parts of the track.
No.
Yes. That are out of the way, like out of the racing lines, you have to intentionally take a slower, like you will lose time doing this. But they unlock extra energy in the battery, like essentially giving them a boost.
Wow.
That can't be true.
It's true. And there's also a thing in Formula E called fan boost.
No.
Where the driver, yes, where the driver who gets the most votes from an online poll
Oh my
gets
god.
extra power. Yep.
This is like Reddit controlled F1.
Why are we not watching this?
Yeah, it's very silly. Very silly.
What?
And there are like a number of also ran Formula One drivers and stuff that have started or that have been participating in Formula E for a while.
Sure.
Or people who like failed out of F2 and didn't quite make it to F1 have gone into Formula E.
Sure.
It is just, my understanding is like, again, because it's a spec series, it's not that it's bad or not exciting. There's certainly exciting racing there. Like IndyCar is a spec series and it's exciting to watch also, but it's not as prestigious and the rivalries are not as intense, again, because the cars are all, pretty similar.
Yeah, it comes down to drivers more.
Right. And again, that is not a bad thing, right? And in some ways, it's a very good thing, right? Literally just leave it to the driver. But, there is nothing like Formula One where you also then have the, like, did the parent company spend $5 million this week to build a sweet new aero piece for your car? And all of a sudden, your car gains 5 seconds or whatever.
Or they built it and you smashed it.
Or they built it and they thought it was going to give them 5 seconds and it actually takes 5 seconds away. That's happened too.
Well, that's one of the things they talk about in that Shift F1 recently was like, are the changes you're making to your car helping your car's like design? Are you sticking to your original design here, or are you just making it up as you go?
Well, and like there is a real chance that like you make a change, and because the testing time they're allowed to do is so limited, like they are not allowed to just take these cars back and go drive them for hours and hours and hours on their home tracks. That's not allowed.
This is not
And
allowed.
yeah, not allowed. And so, you try putting a new piece on the car, they go drive and practice, the guy crashes, or, you don't get very many laps and you can't tell if it's any good. Then you're like, well, I learned nothing.